Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Boring Company and SpaceX warehouse updates here at Bastrop, Texas.
Well, welcome back to Bastrop, Texas. We're starting off here at the Boring Company. As you can see behind me, this is Hyperloop Plaza, and you can also see the Boring Company large warehouse behind me as well. Now, honestly, there's not a lot of activity that I saw today. Not really a lot of changes. The biggest change is most likely the new drone that I'm using that has a lot better resolution. So we're able to get a lot closer in views of several of the interesting sites. Kind of like here, this image, this is the two boring tunnels. One of them is just a regular tunnel, it appears. The other one has Hyperloop doors on it. And these tunnels go underneath the road and connect over to the Starlink facility. And we also just get a chance to see a few other images from around the site, just see how the entire complex looks today. And again, not a whole lot of activity, but a lot different views today because of the drone. So next, let's go over to the Starlink facility where there are a lot of changes to discuss today. All right, I've come across the street to take a look at the Starlink facility right behind me, and there are a lot of changes since the last time I was here. First of all, right where I'm standing is actually a new road that's being constructed. It actually widens the road that used to be here, and it's probably going to help with access in and out of the Starlink facility. Also, maybe hard to see, but right behind me in this line here, most of the trees and the shrubs have been removed, and also the old fence as well. So it looks like they're definitely making a lot of preparations for the front part of the facility. Now on the side of the facility, as you'll see by this image, there's a lot of activity going on. First of all, with some pile drilling to put some reinforced piles in this section where there's going to be another apron to finish off this side of the building and the receiving doors. Also, farther down, we see many of the receiving doors have actually trucks here today bringing in materials and equipment. And then right across the apron from those receiving doors, we see a lot of this black and kind of red or orange material. This looks like it's probably platforms and other internal scaffolding and other items that are necessary for the production of the Starlink dishes here at the site. Now, if we go around to the back side, we can see there's another large clearing that is going on right behind where the trees used to be. And I'm not exactly sure why this is, but it's definitely widening the area that's right behind the Starlink facility. Also nearby there, we can see that most of the heating and ventilation system, at least those pipes on that west side, it looks like they're almost all completed now. As we wrap around to the what would be the south side of the building, we can see that the parking lot's been mostly prepared. There's a new walkway or a trail. And also, as you can see by this image, there's a section on the side of the building that has had part of the wall panels removed, and now they're doing some work inside that section. It looks like there's some plywood or maybe some drywall finishing off that area temporarily. And then we'll move over to the front. From this image, you can see there's quite a big change with the sidewalks, and it looks like there's a caricature line that's kind of emanating out from this corner that also has that sweeping black trim with the big windows. It's very interesting to see how this is shaping up, and it looks like they're getting pretty close to being finished with the construction of the actual building, and it's very good to see a lot more activity inside. Now, there's plenty more to see. We'll talk about that in the video, and you'll see quite a bit more low down and far distant images of this facility as well. So great to see all this activity. So anyway, Boring Company and Starlink today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for your support. Take care.
Thank you to my Patreon members and ex-subscribers. Members and subscribers gain access to hundreds of high-resolution images, previews of future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. All right, good morning. We'll start here on the Boring Company side of the road. You can see the large warehouse with the Boring Company label on it and this grassy infield. All of that has been cleaned up in the last 2 months since I was here before. And then here is that sort of that Quonset hut original structure. And you can see the Proof Rock boring tunnel ring as the boring tunnel sign here for this part of the factory facing the road. Now you can see a lot of the form work on the left-hand side of the screen, and also here some of the concrete segments that are used to line the boring tunnel after it's been bored, and then they line it with those concrete segments, which they make right here. And then that makes the boring tunnel. On the left-hand side of the screen, that kind of that white trussed item with some of those black conveyor belts on it, that's actually what it is. It's part of the system that helps extract the dirt out of the tunnel as it's being bored, and then it places them in piles for it to be moved off-site or used otherwise. But here is where the two boring tunnels exist right now. These are both test tunnels that have been put here over the last maybe 6 to 8 months. The one on the left is the newer one, and it's essentially just a walkway. It doesn't have any other like roadway or any other devices in it, and it goes across underneath the road to the Starlink facility that you see in the upper left. The tunnel on the right with that green door, that's listed as a Hyperloop test tunnel, and on the other side it also has a door similar to that as well, and the Boring Company has put some information out on their tweets about that test tunnel. It seem like there's some tanks on the ground, possibly for more of the concrete production right next to that yellow crane. And then here, as we come down closer in, I'll give you a good view of what this looks like on this side of the factory and also across the road at that Starlink facility. The Quonset hut, I think, is used as a maintenance, and you can see a Proof Rock tunnel boring machine through that open door and coming out on the outside as well. Now that red and white striped tunnel, I think that's where they do some assembly of some of the Proof Rock, but I'm not really 100% sure. And of course you can see the large warehouse with the Boring Company sign. And at the bottom right of the screen, this is Snailbrook facility that it basically has a swimming pool and some recreational activities for the people that work here. On this side, the fence, you can see all these housing complex. Again, this is for the workers and their families, and I think it's a great thing that the Boring Company provides to the families. It makes it a lot easier for them, especially since the Boring Company tends to do their work all over the world. Right now, predominantly over in Las Vegas, but it's nice to be able to have the family members taken care of as well. They've actually added some more of the housing complexes here. The ones right at the bottom of the screen that we're flying over were added within the last 4 months or so. As I zoom back in, you can see the back end of this warehouse and some of the equipment that is underneath that awning. And also, as we look over the roof, you can see the rest of the complex. Now, all of this infield that we see in the middle bottom of the screen, it looks like it's all been cleaned up. There's a lot less water because it's been a drought and it's been very hot here. But overall, it just looks like this area has been cleaned up quite a bit. There is some trailers here and some of the other equipment, maybe even some workshops at the bottom of the screen here. And then also some more interesting equipment in front of this warehouse. I'll try to get in closer and give you a good view of all of the various parts and pieces of equipment that are arrayed out here in front of the door for this large warehouse. So I'll continue to pull back away just to give you an overall view from this perspective of the Boring Company site. And as I zoom out, this gives you a really good idea of how it looks today. Now, there is a lot of this equipment right at the bottom of the screen in this sort of the foreground area. Some of that has been here for some time, and it looks like some of it has actually been cleaned up. Now, as we get ready to cross over and take a look at the Starlink facility, you can see at the bottom of the screen this earthwork here. They are adding are doubling the width of the road here, which is really great because this is kind of a high traffic area, and with this widened road and probably a turn-in lane, it'll make access here a lot safer for the employees that work both here at the SpaceX facility and also at the Boring Company facility. So while we're on this side of the road, let's fly over closer to the SpaceX Starlink facility, and we'll start off with 360-degree flight around at kind of a farther distance, and then we'll get in a little bit closer. Now what you see here in the middle and bottom of the screen is the material staging yard, and also where a lot of the trailers for the contractors have set up their shop while they've been building the facility. And you can see there's still quite a bit of machinery and also some equipment and materials that need to be installed inside of the facility. On the roof of the facility, you can see those air conditioning units, also some skylights. All of that has definitely been completed, and that installation is operational now since the last time I was here, which was about 2 months ago. As we fly over these old farmhouses in amongst the trees, these are just remnants of what was here when the land was purchased by SpaceX. And actually it was purchased from the Boring Company because they purchased it first. Now here, this is very interesting. You can see that there's earthwork going on, thinning out some of the trees and also widening this area on this side of the building. And all of this is very new as well. I'm not sure if they are going to be expanding the grade out this far, or if they're just preparing this for maybe the final treatment, maybe some grass or so. But it's definitely something new, and it's kind of interesting to see that today. Now, as we fly along this side of the building, on the bottom, it looks like there's some equipment being put in with the kind of that orange fence. Here, the parking lot has been completed. It also looks like there's a walk path now through the trees that's under final, construction as well. And also on the side of the building, on the ground floor, you can see there's a large section, kind of that black trim that's been removed, and they're doing some work inside. I'll come back and give you a lower altitude, closer view of that when we get there in a little bit later in the video. But it's interesting to see that they're doing that kind of work. Now what I want to try to show you here is this clearing right in the middle and bottom of the screen. I'll put an arrow up here. All of this has been cleared out since the last time I was here. In fact, this used to be kind of an old cattle fence and a lot of marshland and trees all throughout this area. In fact, I used to do some of my intro videos from here, but as you can clearly see, this area and also the area in front of the SpaceX facility has been completely cleared out now of most of the trees and the shrubs and all of the old vegetation. As we fly over the guard shack on the right side of the screen, we can see the two boring tunnels. And as we approach the main entrance, we can also see that on the sidewalk, there's an interesting sort of a trim piece being put into the concrete. And that kind of mimics what you see with that black swooping window treatment on that corner of the building. So very cool to see kind of the architectural style that they're putting in here. Now I'll give you a closer look at the two boring tunnels. Again, the one on the right, you can see it's got kind of a fence to keep animals out. This is the one that connects over to the Boring Company, and it's just for pedestrians. And then this one here is the Hyperloop test facility, and you can see it's got that door. It slides on those rails. The concrete around here has been added since the last time I was here, kind of that drive path connecting the two tunnels. As I pan back towards the building, good view of all of the work that's been underway to remove all the trees on the right-hand side. And again, you can see that architectural design in the sidewalks, and it kind of mimics the black window trim on this corner of the building as well. Very cool, kind of a very futuristic look. And I don't know if this is going to be incorporated in other buildings, maybe down at Starbase or maybe at Roberts Road, but it is very striking. And it's pretty neat to see that. Now we've got down to a lower altitude. I'm flying along this parking lot. Fortunately, there's no the light poles in the way, so I'll bring the drone down a little bit lower. I'll zoom in, and this gives you a good look at this work that is being done where they've opened up this section of the building, and you can kind of get a sort of a look inside where they're putting kind of a half wall and some other work that is going on inside here as well. What they're doing, I'm not really sure, but this has been a change since the last time I was here. So I'm glad to be able to give you a close-in view of what that looks like today. So we'll continue along the parking lot, and you can see there's other activity going on here. There are some workers, even though it is a Sunday. It looks like some maybe portable generators, those white items on the trailers around this side as well. And then here you can also see some more work on this open section of the building as well. And again, it's really good to see that the work is going on the inside now as most of the outside is completed. As I wrap around the building, this gives you a good look at some of these receiving doors on this side. Looks like most of it's being used for debris and also some new equipment. Also, we can see this kind of heating and ventilation system with those pipes maybe for the heating, and then of course all of these what looks like air conditioning, possibly air conditioning units on the ground. As I come up over the power lines, you can see this small control room and that water tank. Again, I think this is a well system that is used to support possibly the fire system here at this factory. Now as I zoom in, you can get a good look at all of these materials that are kind of arranged out here. I think that these are being moved inside. I think there'll be platforms probably for equipment, maybe for some of the production line that's going on inside as well. As I pivot towards the building, you can see that there's quite a bit of containers that have been brought here next to these receiving doors. All the receiving doors look like they are complete. We also see some trailers have arrived as well. No doubt they're bringing in a lot of the equipment necessary to be installed inside the building. So, I wish I could show you what's going on inside. I'd kind of like to know myself, but I think just seeing all these materials and all the trailers and all the other items here that's not related to just basic construction, but going inside for the production, I think that's great to see. Now, as we approach this part of the building near these receiving docks, you can see that they have a drill, and it's right now laying down, but you can definitely see that drill head and other equipment here. I think they're putting in some more of the reinforced piles, and that'll help support this concrete apron when it is eventually poured, and that'll finish this portion of the receiving dock area of the building, which is almost exclusively on this side of the building, with a little bit on the end of the building, the west end of the building, that had all of the heating and ventilation and those pipes that we talked about earlier. But this is a good view of some of the rebar cages on the ground that would be part of those piers, and of course the machinery to make those piers themselves. As we wrap around to the front of the building, this is just giving you a different look at how it appears today from the opposite side of where we started. And as I zoom back out, you can see the road work here and how it is definitely widened, and it'll really help with the traffic flow for these two facilities. So otherwise, there's a quick tour around two different sites here at Bastrop, the Boring Company, and also the SpaceX Starlink facility. And I hope that you enjoyed these views and some of the discussion and some of the items that you saw today. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your support, and I wish you have a great weekend, and take care.